Before the electric grid reached the American countryside, more than 350,000 farmhouses were lit by an engine, a generator, and a bank of batteries. That same machine is parked in your driveway right now. For about $20 in salvaged parts, your car can recharge your solar battery bank when a run of cloudy days leaves it flat. No dedicated generator to buy, no separate fuel to store, no second engine to maintain. It runs on the gas already in your tank. This is not free power, and it is not a toy, but it is a genuine backup that most solar owners already own without knowing it. The automakers have even started selling the same idea for thousands of dollars. It's called using your vehicle as a generator. By the end, you'll know how it works, why it's a century old, and how to wire it safely. Let's dive in. The weakness of a solar system was never the panels. It is the dark stretch. Sooner or later, a run of short, gray winter days arrives. The panels trickle in a fraction of what they make in summer, the battery bank draws down further every night, and there is simply no sun to refill it. That is the moment every honest solar installer plans for, and the standard answer is a generator. Look at what that answer costs. A permanent home standby generator, the kind wired to your panel and fed by a propane or natural gas line, runs somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 installed. Step down to a portable inverter generator, and you are still spending several hundred to a couple of $1,000s for a quality unit. And whatever you buy, it spends almost its entire life doing nothing. It sits in a shed 362 days a year, depreciating, waiting for the 3 days you need it. It demands stored fuel, and gasoline goes stale in a few months. Unless you treat it and rotate it, it needs its own oil changes, its own starts, its own maintenance schedule for a machine you hope never to use. So here is the arithmetic that should bother you. You are buying a second engine to sit idle next to the engine you already start every single morning. And that first engine is parked outside your window right now. Look out at your car. You are looking at a fuel tank, an engine, and a generator, already bolted together. Every car burns fuel to spin an engine. And that engine already turns a generator, the alternator, every second it runs. That is not an add-on. It is why your headlights stay bright, why the radio plays, why your phone charges from a cord on the console. The whole time you are driving, a generator under the hood is quietly making electricity. Strip a home standby generator down to its essentials, and that is all it is: a fuel tank, an engine, and a generator. Your car has all three. It just happens to have 4 wheels attached. So the only real question left is a small one. Can you point that current at your battery bank instead of only at your car, because you already own the hardest, heaviest, most expensive parts of the machine? Here is the fact the whole build rests on. An electric motor and a generator are the same machine, run in opposite directions. Put electricity into a motor, and the shaft spins. Spin that same shaft by hand, and the motor pushes electricity back out. There is no meaningful difference between the two devices, only which way the energy is flowing. So a salvaged permanent magnet DC motor, the kind sitting inside a treadmill, a mobility scooter, or a cordless drill, becomes a generator the instant you turn its shaft. The important part is this: the voltage that motor puts out rises with how fast you spin it. Turn it slowly, and you get a few volts. Turn it quickly, and the voltage climbs. That relationship is the entire key to matching it to a battery bank. Now, your car already has one generator on board the alternator, and it puts out roughly 13 to 14 volts. That happens to be right for charging a standard 12-volt battery bank. For many people, that is the whole story, and the scrap motor is optional. The reason to add one comes down to voltage. Plenty of solar banks don't run at 12 volts. They run at 24 or 48, higher than the alternator was ever built to deliver. A belt-driven scrap motor, geared to spin fast enough, can reach those higher voltages where the alternator cannot. Either way, the raw output does not go straight to the batteries. It passes through a charge controller, the same kind sold for small wind turbines, which regulates that messy, variable current, so it charges the bank safely instead of overcharging and cooking it. Be clear about the scale. This is real power, hundreds of watts, up to a kilowatt or so, enough to matter in an outage. But every single watt of it is bought with fuel. And if wiring an engine to a battery bank sounds like a modern hack, it is the oldest trick in American power. In 1913, an engineer named Charles Kettering shipped his mother a Christmas present in Loudonville, Ohio. Kettering had just changed the automobile forever. He had invented the electric self-starter around 1911 and a high-tension ignition system to go with it together, the end of an era, when starting a car meant hand-cranking the engine and hoping it didn't kick back and break your arm. The company he had co-founded to build those parts was Delco, the Dayton Engineering Laboratories Company. His mother's gift was that same technology, turned toward her farmhouse, an engine, a generator, and a bank of batteries. Electric light in a home no power line would reach for another 20 years. 3 years later, Delco sold that idea to the whole country as the Delco Light Plant. The design was simple, and it was exactly what this video is about. A small gasoline engine spinning a generator, charging 16 lead-acid glass cells wired in series to make 32 volts of direct current. It was enough to light a farmhouse, pump its water, and run the radio. The first units put out around 750 watts. It sold. By 1928, more than 350,000 Delco Light plants were running in rural homes, schools, churches, and stores across America. And here is the detail that matters most, a century later. Delco engineered around the exhaust from the very beginning. They added crankcase ventilation, and they told customers to pipe the engine's exhaust into a drum buried in the ground. Even in 1916, they understood that a running engine indoors is a danger that kills. The plants were never beaten by a better machine. They were simply made redundant when Franklin Roosevelt's Rural Electrification Administration, created in 1935, finally strung power lines out to the farms. The architecture didn't fail. It just got a grid. The generator that could charge your battery bank and the starter that turns your engine over every morning were invented by the same man for the same reason. And the automakers who inherited Kettering's company are now selling his idea back to you with a six-figure battery attached. In 2021, when a winter storm collapsed the Texas power grid and left millions in the dark and the cold, some homeowners kept their lights on with a pickup truck. The Ford F-150 Lightning carries a battery pack of up to 131 kilowatt hours. To put that number in perspective, it is roughly the storage of 10 home battery walls, sitting on 4 wheels. Its backup feature can push up to 9.6 kilowatts into a house, enough to run an average American home for about 3 days, or up to 10 if you ration it carefully. It does this through a bi-directional charger and a home integration system, and that system does one critical job. It isolates the house from the grid, so the current cannot flow back down the utility line and electrocute a lineman working to restore power. And this is not only for electric trucks. A gas-powered F-150 hybrid can deliver up to 7.2 kilowatts straight from outlets built into its bed. Vehicle-to-load outlets now ship on the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Kia EV6, the Rivian R1T, and a growing list of others. The manufacturers even describe it in the exact language of this video. They market the electric versions as a silent, fume-free backup generator, a car that powers your house. One honest note on cost. The home integration hardware that does this safely runs roughly $3,000 to $5,000. That is still less than a comparable standby generator, but it is a long way from free. So if the factory version is real, and even the automakers recommend it, what is the catch on the $20 version? There are two catches, and this channel exists to tell you both. The first is that it is not free. A combustion engine is a fuel pump for electricity, and it is an inefficient one. Idle a car to make a few hundred watts, and it burns gasoline at a rate that, measured per kilowatt hour, costs more than the grid and more than a purpose-built inverter generator. The reason is simple. A car engine was designed to move 2 tons of steel down a highway, not to sip fuel making light. So, free power is wrong. This is power from a machine you already own, run on fuel you already buy, a real advantage when the grid is down, but not a way to beat your electric bill. The second catch is that the cheap version can kill you, and it can do it in 2 specific ways. A running engine pours out carbon monoxide, an invisible, odorless gas that gives no warning. It kills people in garages and attached spaces every single winter, during exactly the outages when they reach for backup power. And wiring any generator into your house through an ordinary outlet can send power backward down the utility line and electrocute the crew working to fix it or backfeed and burn your own home. Then there is the quieter reason no one ever told you to do this. There is no product in it. The car is already bought. There is no generator to ship, no unit to finance, no invoice to send right up until an automaker figures out how to charge you $5,000 for the hardware that does it safely. No one hid this. A machine you already own generates no new sale, and the incentive lists were written to reward products that arrive in a box. So let me be plain. The $20 scrap motor is not better than a generator. It is a way to survive an outage with what is already in your driveway if you respect what an engine can do to you. It is not free, and it is not a toy. It is a last resort you already own. So, here is how to wire it so it saves your weekend instead of ending it. This is for one job: recharging a drained solar battery bank during a multi-day outage using the car you already own. If you want the full wiring guide, the charge controller settings, the pulley sizing, and the safe belt setup, we put together a complete walkthrough covering everything here and more. The link is in the description below. Start with the simplest, honest path, because you may not need the scrap motor at all. If your solar bank is 12 volts, your car's own alternator already makes 13 to 14 volts, and a proper DC to DC charger will move that current into your bank safely, with no motor required. For a lot of people, that is the entire build. The scrap motor earns its place on higher voltage banks. Take a salvaged permanent magnet DC motor rated for high voltage, fit a pulley to its shaft, and belt it to a spinning source driven by the engine, size so it turns fast enough to reach your bank's voltage. Run its output through a bridge rectifier if the motor needs it, and into a wind turbine charge controller, which regulates the charge and protects the batteries. Add a blocking diode so the batteries cannot drive current back into the motor when the engine stops. And hold the engine at a steady idle voltage climbs with speed. And an over-revved scrap motor can overheat, throw its magnets, or catch fire. Now the warnings. And these are not the fine print. These are the whole point. First, carbon monoxide. Run the engine only outdoors, in open air, never in a garage, never up against the house, never near a window, a door, or a vent. The gas is invisible, it is odorless, and it kills silently, most often during the exact cold weather outages when you would want the power. Second, never connect this to your home's wiring through an ordinary outlet. Use a proper transfer switch, or interlock, installed to code. Backfeeding the line can electrocute a utility worker and burn your house down. And keep your hands, your sleeves, and every loose cord well clear of the spinning belt and pulley. It can take a finger in an instant. There are hard limits here, and you should hear them before you ever start the engine. This burns fuel, and it burns more of it per kilowatt hour than almost anything else you could run. It will not lower your power bill. It is not efficient, and it is not free every hour that engine runs. It drinks gasoline whether you are charging a battery or driving to work. It is loud. It produces exhaust. And it asks you to respect a machine that can poison you or crush you if you get careless. This is not a daily power source. It is an emergency bridge across a dark, windless stretch when your solar bank is flat and the grid is down. What it gives you instead is a simple certainty. The most expensive parts of a backup generator are already sitting in your driveway, fueled and ready, the same architecture that lit farmhouses for 100 years before the grid ever arrived. This is not a suppressed miracle. It is an honest last resort with real teeth, and knowing how to use it safely is worth far more than pretending it is free. If discovering the practical, unglamorous, honest corners of energy self-reliance matters to you, subscribing and sharing is the simplest way to make sure this kind of knowledge keeps being found. We will be tracking all of it as it develops. So here is the question. Would you keep a $20 salvaged motor and the car already in your driveway ready for the 3 days a year the grid fails? Or would you spend $10,000 on a standby generator that sits idle the other 362? I'd genuinely like to know. Drop it in the comments.